Grab your shankas and put on a jacket because we're going to Russia.
I bring you in as prisoners and then set you free inside walls. It is risky, crazy.
I'm your host Yusuf, and these are the top 10 scary prisons in Russia they don't want you to know about. Make sure you press subscribe and ring the bell to get a notification anytime we upload a new video. Anyways, let's get chilly. At number 10, Cheboksary Prison. This prison is considered to be the oldest prison in Russia. The infamous ruler of Russia, Ivan the Terrible, ordered the original construction of this prison out of wood in 1555. In the year 1646, the prison was rebuilt in stone. There's a legend that Stepan Razin, leader of the 1670 to 1671 peasant riot, was held briefly in the Cheboksary prison while en route to his execution in Moscow. The fortress was built there to facilitate Moscow's Tsardom's presence in these lands, subdue the local Tatar tribes, and make them pay tributes. At number 9, Butyrka Prison Castle. Varlam Shalamov notes in one of his tales that the Butyrka is extremely hot in summer. Edward Limonov in his drama Passing in the Police Van emphatically agrees. He says that with the collapse of the Soviet regime, overcrowding has become a real issue. There are more than 100 inmates in cells meant to contain 10 people. Most of these people are politically unreliable subjects from the Caucasus. Since epidemics are a problem, the wardens try to fill cells entirely with people with AIDS or with tuberculosis. However, this does little to curb the problem, since many inmates are substance users and there's at most one needle per cell. Moreover, inmates are brought to the tribunal in overcrowded police vans so that healthy inmates are exposed to tuberculosis. At number 8, Matryoshkaya Tishina Prison. The name of this Moscow prison has an interesting history. The street where it is located also bears the name Matryoshkaya Tishina, which means the sailor's silence. Since Peter and the Great's time, sailors were settled on the banks of Yauza River there, and in 1771, a hospice for veterans of the Russian fleet was organized. The prison, founded in 1775, was initially also a house of restraint, a special institution where people who committed crimes because of mental diseases were kept, along with debauchers, drunkards, etc. In 1870, the house of restraint was transformed into a regular prison. At number 7, Kresty Crosses Prison. Although it is permanently closed now, built in 1893, this vast red brick complex was originally Europe's largest solitary confinement facility and used to hold political prisoners, including Trotsky in 1905 and in October 1917, the entire provisional government. Later in the Soviet period, it was the site of the incarceration of Joseph Brodsky on charges of parasitism. Kresty has been infamous in recent years for chronic overcrowding, TB infection, and corruption. At number 6, Vladimir Central Prison. This prison was founded in Vladimir in 1783 during Catherine the Great's reign. It was initially built as a labor house for petty criminals, but in 1906 it became a central prison, a specially guarded and fortified detention facility. Here, the most dangerous and important convicts were held, and during the prison's history, no jailbreaks out of here were registered. Currently, the Vladimir Central Prison is a special security prison. It is also famous in criminal folklore because of the eponymous song by Russian urban criminal, chant and singer Mikhail Krug. At number 5, Vologda, Russia's Pyatak Prison. Inside the prison walls of Russia's Alcatraz, you can find the country's most dangerous criminals. With the state of the prison facility in Pyatak, they'd come out even worse how they came in. That's if they even came out. A prison psychologist said that the place destroys a person's hope and the person itself. During the first 9 months of staying there, the inmates begin to adapt to the solitary and psychological torture. After 4 to 5 years, an inmate's personality would begin to deteriorate. According to the psychologist, no one can survive being stuck there for 25 years. You would not come out without being psychologically destroyed. At number 4, Black Eagle. In the USSR, Black Eagle was the only colony for prisoners on deceased row. But since 1997, the deceased penalty has been suspended. Today, Black Eagle prisoners are divided into 2 groups: those whose punishment was mitigated to 25 years imprisonment, and those serving a life sentence. Prisoners serving a life sentence live in separate buildings, usually in cells for 1 or 2. They're kept inside for 23 hours a day with an hour to walk in a special room without a roof. Prisoners sleep with the lights on, and during the day, lying in bed is prohibited. At number 3, White Swan. White Swan was founded in 1938 as a penal colony for the Soviet Union to hold political prisoners, particularly priests, but was eventually used for common criminals as well. In 1955, a special decree of the CPSU Central Committee changed the colony to correct the so-called thieves in law. and the main task of the prison was the total isolation and closure of all methods of communication between prisoners and the outside world. The Soviet authorities began to staff White Swan with some of the highest quality correctional officers in the country to control the thieves in law. In order to be able to withstand the bribes and intimidation. In 1999, White Swan was repurposed to house serious criminals serving life sentences and, unlike previous detainees, were not expected to ever leave the facility. The prison has roughly 300 inmates, 1/3 of its maximum capacity, held in cells of 1, 2, and 3 people. All cells have a dossier containing photos, articles, and brief biography of the detainees. White Swan was the first prison in Russia to feature an on-site professional psychologist, and the administration, after studying the prisoners, settles them based on psychological compatibility in order to avoid conflicts. The conditions of the prison supposedly correspond to the requirements of international standards, with a library, correspondence materials, a commissary, a weekly shower, and an hour-long walk per day. During White Swan's entire existence, there have been no confirmed escapes. At number 2, Polar Owl Prison. Also known as Yamalo-Nenets Autonomous Okrug, this prison is one of 7 supermax labor colonies operated by the federal government. There were reports in the media that some employees of the colony were involved in a scandal with the falsification of a confession. Some unscrupulous guards were suspected of beating testimonies from prisoners with the use of physical and psychological violence. Novaya Gazeta reported 190 fake turnouts, while Izvestia reported 32 fake turnouts. According to Novaya Gazeta, the Federal Penitentiary Services for the Yamalo-Nenets Autonomous Okrug tried to hush up the case since high-ranking officials could be involved in it. At number 1, Black Dolphin Prison. Black Dolphin Prison is a correctional facility in Seoul-Iletsk, Orenburg Oblast, Russia, near its border with Kazakhstan. The prison houses approximately 700 of Russia's worst criminals. Prisoners at Black Dolphin are all serving sentences of life imprisonment. The prison began accepting these inmates on the 1st of November 2000. Inmates are kept isolated and housed in cells that have a set of 3 steel doors. For 90 minutes a day, they exercise in a large cage. During this time, cells are searched for contraband or illegal items. Inmates are also under 24-hour surveillance and supervision. They are not permitted to rest or sit on their bunks from the time they awake until bedtime. That's pretty harsh. Thanks for watching, leave a like if you liked the video, and we'll see you next time.